I have had a shocker. That's not surprising, is it, really? If you were here for the beginning of the season and saw my predictions, they were awful. Absolutely awful. I did get some right. So for ones I do get right, I'll be taking a sip of Coca-Cola. But I imagine there's not going to be much of that going on, is there? So let's take a look at the dreadful predictions I made at the beginning of the season, from Premier League down to the National League, North and South. The first one was 20th. Oh, I had to go with Leeds, didn't I? I just don't like Leeds, and I decided to put them in 20th. They did have many big losses, as I said, but they also had many big wins. So yeah, and a lot of the players which I thought they weren't very good, like Bamford and stuff, turned out to do really well. But well done, Leeds. You managed to prove me wrong. There's not much difference to that than usual, is there? 19th, I went with Southampton. Why would I go with Southampton? I did think that they'd have a lot of injuries, and Danny Ings actually managed to remain relatively injury-free. They did end up near the bottom, though. They weren't that far away from relegation. They were 15th. So I think it's all right. But yeah, I think they did suffer a 9-0 loss. That's all I can really say is a consolation, though, isn't it? 18th, Crystal Palace. They were 14th, so no. Roy Hodgson, I didn't really like his style of play, but clearly it works. To be fair, I did make this prediction with people with it in mind that Zaha probably wasn't going to be there for the season, and he actually was there for the season. So, and I said that Benteke wouldn't score enough goals. I mean, I can make that prediction because he hadn't before. And really, he ripped it up this season. So if the things which were going for me actually went for me, then I would be all right. 17th, I went with Fulham. I thought they were going to survive. That I'm not too bad with that. They're 18th. They didn't survive, but they did at times look like they were going to get there. If some of their players like Mitrovic actually turned up half of the time, which they just didn't, then they could have survived. And just needed to not concede or not have as many draws and make the draws into wins. And who knows? Maybe they could have finished where I predicted them. 16th, I went with Burnley, and Burnley actually finished 17th. So I'll credit this as well. It was only 2 points difference. Big goal difference, to be fair, between them 2 points. But I think that was a decent shout. I said they could grind out wins. That's what they did. But they did lack goals as well. So yeah, they had a great defence, and well, it was a bit boring to watch at times. Apart from that 4-0 win, no one saw that coming. And Nick Pope has also done great. Everything I said was correct. It was just 2 points in it in the end, to be fair. Aston Villa, I went with 15th. Now, hear me out here. Aston Villa finished 11th. And I had probably a lot more faith than a lot of other people did in Aston Villa at the beginning of the season. A lot of people thought they were going to be lower mid-table, maybe even relegation zone, because I made this prediction thinking that Jack Grealish would stay, and they'll build around him, and he did. They did even better than I thought, but they did do very well. So congratulations, Aston Villa, getting 11th. As they did get another striker as well, of ex Brentford lad, I think it was. But yeah, they of course did very well. 13th went with Newcastle, and Newcastle actually finished 12th. So, and it was they literally had the same goal difference, same points and everything. Why could you have not just? I don't know. I don't even know what it came down to in the end, to be fair, between Newcastle and Wolves. But if they didn't do better at that, then my prediction would have been dead on. Because they haven't really recruited that well. They have got some good players. They've got Callum Wilson, yeah. I didn't have the knowledge that they had Callum Wilson at that point, and I thought they were going to use Joe Linton. It didn't really make much of a difference, to be fair. I did think he was going to get slightly better, though. And I don't know if he still scored anything, but St. Maximin, I believe, was good. And I haven't heard much how good he was this season, but I haven't heard much from Newcastle. Full stop, really, apart from their goalkeeping department being great. I went 12th with Arsenal, which wasn't too far away. They were 8th. They were ending up in mid-table, pretty much. I did think they were poor in defence, and that has proved they absolutely were diabolical at times in defence, and they had to bring through fast tracks some of their youth players to even end up finishing in above the 12th mark. I also thought Aubameyang was going to leave. I didn't think he would stick around, but he's had a bad season anyhow, so it didn't really affect that much. They were a bit overhyped, though, when they won the FA Cup. I think we can now all see that. And I personally believe they were a mid-table team with no aspiration and inspiration. I would go with that's true. They aren't a mid-table team with any inspiration by looks at it at the moment. They never really looked like challenging Europe throughout the season. 11th, I went with West Ham, which is higher than most people put them. They actually finished 6th, so well done, West Ham, in finishing the Europa League. But even I had more faith in you than most people had. Most people thought they were going to be in relegation zone. I said actually that they were going to be inspired by an almost relegation, which would lead to a good start of the season with what would look like a European position. You actually managed to retain that. So well done. You've done so well. You've proved my prediction right and gone beyond it, the next level. They also brought a lot of players in. Them 2 lads from Slavia Prague, they did very well. And I did say Mikel Antonio would be a contender for Golden Boot. He's been a bit quiet. It's been Souček and Declan Rice, I think, have been the better players for them this season. I went 10th with Brighton and Hove, and they finished 16th, so I don't think I'll back them again. I just thought their experience in the league, and I did believe that the fans would help as well, would lead them to mid-table. They do have good defence. I still stand by the claim that they have a good defence, and their striking is a problem. They did maintain this main nucleus of the squad, but they really did probably need an extra striker or 2. Neil Maupay has not done the greatest service for the club, has he? 9th, I went with West Brom. It was a mistake. I think we can pass it. It's normally that one championship team, I think, does really well, and it was actually Leeds this time. So if I just swap West Brom and Leeds around as one of the championship teams, I would have got this dead right. Bilic didn't last long in the job, though, and I thought he would have lasted a bit longer. Yeah, they did bring back Pereira. He did all right, so we'll see what happens with him. And Krasicki did all right as well, but I just don't think they had as many standout players as maybe they should have done to get onto that next level. 8th, I went with Leicester City, and Leicester City actually finished 5th. So I messed this up a bit. Although Jamie Vardy hasn't scored many goals, and so that was what I was thinking, and he has not scored as many goals. What I didn't realise was that other people would come up to the plate and start scoring instead. Typical. So they do know the league, and they know where they need to strengthen and stuff, so I did believe they were going to challenge for Europe. I haven't seen anyone which didn't say they were going to challenge for Europe, but yeah. I did believe that Europe would provide a bit of an unwanted distraction. It didn't that much. It was more the end of the season, which was a problem doing the bottle job. Although I did say they would win the FA Cup, and they did win the FA Cup, so I think I get extra credit for that, and I'm actually going to take a sip of Coke for that, because that is a good call. Very good. I'm not sponsored or anything. It's just a personal choice. 7th, I went with Wolves because they finished 7th for previous 2 seasons. So a really big drop off to finish 13th. Nuno, I thought, was going to do a bit better when he did. They did have a lot of injuries though, and I thought that they would do worse without Traore or Neves, and that was. It wasn't them two which really got injured. It was Raul Jimenez instead, which meant that they were lower down. But injuries nonetheless. So I do think that they would have had a bit more experience to get into that 7th place, and clearly not. And I don't know where they're going to go from here because Nuno's left. Could even result in relegation next season. But you'll see my predictions later for that. 6th, I went with Chelsea. They actually finished 4th. That's not too bad. There was only 2 points really in it. If Leicester didn't bottle it, they would have been 5th, and so it would have been incredibly close. I did think that Frank Lampard was overhyped by the media, and that gave him a bit of confidence to take risks, which enabled him to do well, but not so well. So I did think that he was probably not going to. I thought he may have stuck around this whole season, but may have not have done. He ended up didn't. If he did, I think 6th would have been a realistic call. The defence hasn't been much greatly improved, and the striking department they have wasted money on. I mean, you can't lie about it. It's true. Werner has done nothing. Havertz has been quite poor as well. Tammy Abraham's gone out of the picture, so I don't know what's happened to him of late. And they haven't done as much squad rotation as I originally thought, because I thought they were going to do a bit of squad rotating, and that would make them a bit poor. But I did think they'll get Europa League. I did say, though, that they would reach the Champions League final. I didn't say they would win it. I just said they'd reach the final. But I think the final is a good enough call to have another drink. I mean, that prediction wasn't too bad, I think. Because getting Champions League final is not an easy thing to predict an English club to do. 5th, I went with Sheffield United. Sheffield United. What have you done? The Blades with 23 points. You've done awful. You've done absolutely awful. There's a thing called second season syndrome, and then there's that. I thought your strong side. I thought you had a very strong side and a good push into the Europa League position, and I thought you would have been a bit of an underdog, really, a bit like West Ham have been. And with the experience you had and Chris Wilder, I just thought things were going to go better. And also thought fans would be there, and you have quite good fans. So I don't think you would have had a total shambles if it wasn't for the fans being in the stadium. But even so, it was very, very poor. 4th went with Manchester United. They were 2nd. So I did predict they were going to finish the Champions League. They did. I didn't know that Liverpool were going to have so many injuries. And I thought Chelsea were going to do slightly worse, to be fair. I did think it was going to be a lot tighter in title race, to be fair, instead of Manchester City running away with the league, absolutely smashing it and dominating it, winning it by 12 points. I did think they'll win it by the way. We'll come to that later, though. Manchester United probably don't have the greatest squad depth, to be fair. I think we've seen that at times this season. But I didn't think they would take risks on I said they were going to take risks on youngsters, and they didn't. They have done better at defence than I thought they originally were going to do. I did say they were better than Chelsea or Arsenal's defence, but I didn't give Maguire and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka as much credit, really, as I think they deserve. And to be fair, it has stuck with them, and they have done much better than I thought. Didn't also think Bruno Fernandes would do as well as he did. 3rd, I went with Tottenham. Not really. They've not achieved 3rd. It's only 7 points off, and they could have been accumulated if they didn't sack Mourinho. But yeah, I think the problem was the sacking Mourinho. I thought the Jose Mourinho effect would meant they would get Champions League. And he had a lot of experience, and I thought that was going to make a difference. They didn't really pull together as a team. That was a problem. I did say that they had good players, but they didn't pull together as a team, and they just didn't. Gareth Bale was in and out. The only people I know who really had a really good teammate together was Son and Kane, and now that's going to be split. Kane asking to leave. They did have strength in depth, so it wasn't really that big of a deal, apart from when Son got injured, I think it was, and then they really did look in danger. Second, I went with Liverpool. Okay, in my defence, I didn't know how many. I don't think many people knew how many injury crises of getting rid of 4 centre backs. After they won the title, they did look very poor, though, didn't they? And I did say that. And they even lost the FA Community Shield in penalties when they could have quite easily brushed aside an Arsenal team. They probably didn't focus on Europe as much as I thought they would do. I don't think they really looked that much at that competition. I thought they were going to win the EFL Cup. They didn't. I think they got knocked out in one of the lower down stages. But I did say that they lacked the squad depth. So if one of the players get injured, they would be in poor form. Well, it wasn't just one of their players. It was ended up like 3, 4, 5, 6 players all around about the same different time, which meant awful. And I still don't know. Jordan Pickford did not get something off for that tackle on Virgil van Dijk. But, you know, I think if I knew, in hindsight, is a wonderful thing, if I knew that they had that many injuries, I don't think I would have even thought they would have gone third, which they've managed to do now. So I think well done, Klopp, that they've actually managed to do so well with that injury-rife squad. And I thought that Manchester City would win the league, which they have done. I thought they would do. So that is another drink. I thought they had a good squad depth. They do. We have Pep's rotation almost every single week, I think. They also... I did say that Nathan Ake was going to do better to strengthen defence. He's not really played, to be honest. But the defence was still good, no matter what. I think Pep would be furious that he wasn't going to win anything. But they managed to win the league and the League Cup double. So they did try to win the Champions League, as I said. But they didn't lose out to a team like Atletico Madrid, who put all their men behind the ball. No, they lost to Chelsea in the final, so they did much better than I thought in the Champions League. And I've not heard that Kevin De Bruyne has beaten Thierry Henry's record for assists. I don't know if they've had Player of the Season come out yet. Just let me check, because I don't know if they have. I know Derby's have come out. I don't think they have. No, I don't think they have at the moment. Oh, wait, no, they have. It's Ruben Dias. Okay, so it wasn't Kevin De Bruyne, it was Ruben Dias. Well, he did very well as well this season. I did actually at the time think that Lionel Messi would join, because it was amongst that time when he was like, I'm going to move from Barcelona to some other club, and he never ended up doing so. So on to the Championship. I thought that Sheffield Wednesday were going to be relegated in 24th. Where were they? 24th. I was exactly right with this, and I think I should have a lot of credit for getting that. Not really. I think most people had them to relegation zone. But it's another drink after all. Yeah, to be fair, in my knowledge at that time, they had 12 points deduction. So I think everybody would already thought with that disadvantage they would go straight down. Did we have a lot of draws? Not really. And more losses. Yeah. They had 23 losses, so I didn't think... And 11 draws and 12 wins. So they did all right. In total, in terms of that draw stat, they didn't do as much as I thought. The defence, I don't think the defence was the greatest either. The one recognised striker didn't really turn up either. So they brought in Marriott, and Marriott has done Jack. See what I did there, Jack Marriott. I don't know what he's actually done. I think he injured himself 3 games in or something. He's not done very well, all I know. They managed to have Gary Monk was defensive minded, but they then switched to Tony Pulis, and then they've gone with that guy from Doncaster. They've gone with him now. Darren Moore, isn't it? I think it's Darren Moore. Yes, it is. Okay. Sorry about that. Yep. For 23rd, I thought I went with Huddersfield Town, which isn't bad. They finished 20th, so they didn't actually get relegated, as I originally thought they would do. They weren't far off it. They were only 6 points in it at the end. Because mainly they were skirting with it last season, so I thought, you know what, they might go down. And they still have, by my reckonings, quite a bad team to finish that low down. They have also changed the manager, I believe. I think Aitor Karanka left the building. I did think Rhythm would be hard to come by, and fans didn't really matter as coming down to it. Was a bit optimistic that we'll have fans back. Never really brutalised. And then 22nd, I went with Wycombe, which is also right, and I think that definitely deserves a drink because I don't think many people gave Wycombe as much credit as they did. Sorry, as they duly deserve. It's their first time ever in the league, so they found it hard to adjust. Well, that's kind of proven by the relegation, but they did all right. I think Wycombe fans should be proud they finished 22nd. They don't have the greatest squad depth, and they did have almost unknown players, so they work well as a team, I think. Fans didn't really matter coming down at the end of it, but, you know, well done. 21st, I went with Rotherham, which wasn't too far away. They were 23rd, so they did get relegated, and there was only 2 points in it in the end. I thought just because of the pure experience they have in the league, they always seem close to relegation and pretty much getting relegated, which they have done again. But I thought they could have done a bit better this time. And it just didn't inspire me like they should do, really. I thought they would be in the relegation zone until other teams around just dropped off. They do play a good defensive line, did they? They didn't really, in that spell where they had all them games in hand, they really, really disappointed me. I'm glad they didn't do well, by the way, because otherwise Derby would have been relegated. But, you know, as a neutral, they didn't look the greatest. 20th, I went with Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough are actually 10th, so not really, no. I thought the playing of football wasn't that great. The players they have isn't that. It's always been for me. Middlesbrough's a bit of a boring club, always getting a draw. And I thought Neil Warnock's style of play would have kind of adapted to that quite the same, and it would just be the same old, and wouldn't have actually achieved much more results with it. They didn't bring in that many transfers either, although that clearly wasn't important because they made it up to 10th. They did have a good defence and actually had a better defence as I gave them due for. So, well done, Middlesbrough, for getting 10th. 19th went with Coventry. They did much better. They actually finished 16th. So, I think Coventry, amazing results. That was very good to get 16th in your first season back. You have great young players. And you were a bit inexperienced in the league. I think you can all agree that. But that inexperience didn't matter when it came to it. And you came in 16th. Fans didn't matter either. And you actually performed better at your home ground. And the manager, true to his word, is loyal at the club. And he's done all right for you, hasn't he? 18th I went with Norwich, didn't I? I had to go with Norwich. Why? I did think that out of the 3 teams which were relegated, they were weakest. That wasn't the case. That was Bournemouth. I think they had a large amount of ego, but that ego rightly placed, I think, has been. They are the best squad, clearly, in the Championship. Did they lose their first game against Luton, as I said they would. They seem to have played each other a lot. Yeah, they lost their first EFL Cup game against Luton. Yes, they did. They lost 3-1. So I got that bit right at least. They actually, making this prediction, I thought all their good players were going to get swallowed up by the Premier League. I thought Timu Pukki was going to leave. I thought Andy Buendia was going to leave. I thought Todd Cantwell was going to leave. I thought Krul was going to leave. I thought they were all going to go, and their squad was going to be absolutely decimated to some bare bone players, which are championship standard at best. And that's what I was thinking. But they managed to keep hold of them. Even if they kept Pukki, I thought he was going to have a bit of an off season, but no, he's ripped up the league. Of course he did. So yeah, 17th went with Nottingham Forest. Hey, I'm so glad I can drink to this because the amount of hate I could get for that, but I got it dead on correct. It was an entirely biased opinion and I got it right. I thought I hate Forest. I'm not going to put them much higher than lower mid-table, and they finished there. They did overbuy players, so it did take ages to bond as a team. Actually managed to get their manager sacked within the first month or so. But I did think they were going to start better. I thought they would be mid-table to begin with, but no, they started awful and then built their way up to 17th. 16th went with Bristol City. I'm actually lower though, it's 19th, so that's not very good, is it? I always thought they were going to be mid-table, and I wouldn't say 19th is mid-table. I think that's more erring on the side of struggling with relegation. I think Bristol have had a really disappointing season this campaign, and they've had a lot of losses I've noticed coming through. This is mostly due to them not strengthening, I think. That's what I said they were going to struggle with. A lot of their players were released or loaned, and so the squad depth was fairly small. They did get Chris Martin, though. I thought they were going to win a lot of games big, but a lot of losses of big as well, so not neutral. I don't think they really have. They've got -22, so I don't think that tells me that, no, that didn't happen. 15th, I went with QPR. Now, QPR did much better. They finished 9th, so I didn't actually... Well done, QPR. You've gone beyond my expectations of you as a club. I thought you were going to struggle without Eze, but that Eze Samuel guy or something like that, he's stepped in amazingly, and your squad is still actually pretty good. I didn't think it was going to be better than mid-table. You did work well as a team, better than I thought. I just thought you always finish in mid-table, so you're not going to do the greatest. But no, you've challenged towards the playoffs. Of course, the playoffs have pretty much been decided for ages. You were 9 points off it ultimately, but, did much better than I expected. Much better attack, especially since you brought Austin back. I think that's vastly improved it as well. 14th, I went with Birmingham. Birmingham was actually 18th, so it wasn't miles away. It was still quite far away. I just think the good squad they have has just not been working towards their manager's strengths. And I think we've kind of seen recently with them replacing the manager, the results did start to go back up again and where I thought they were going to be. The strong fan base clearly didn't matter, but the experienced side I thought was going to do a much better. I thought if they kept Karanka, they were going to do a bit better over a period of time. He did very, very poor, as I thought he would do at the beginning, and I don't think he got given the time, but I think still. You can go and check out my opinion of whether he should be sacked or not in the video I've done about what each of the managers, whether they should be sacked or not. 13th, I went with Luton Town, and they actually finished 12th. There was 1 point in it in the end. Come on, Preston. You could have gained one more point, really. Really, guys? But yeah, it was pretty close to where I was. They have experience in the league, and that's what my go-to was. Thought the momentum would carry on from last season to this one. Clearly has done. I don't know. I've not got the particular amount of scores they have, but the -7 seems to be implying to me that they did have fairly low scoring games. They did actually lose quite a bit of games. They lost 21, they won 18. So they didn't draw many as I thought they would have done. Their defence was clearly either had an off day or an on day, really. 12th went with Millwall, and Millwall finished 11th. Oh, come on, Preston. If you got one more point, sorry, it was. I mean, looking at the wrong row, it was 18 losses and 17 wins and an draw. So it was all right. So Millwall, yeah, okay. Preston, if you got one more point and 2 more goals, you could have moved both of them down. It wasn't that hard, was it? So yeah, Millwall actually finished 11th. It's such an annoying prediction. I think Gary Rowett has a good time and a bad one. I've seen that enough, and I don't know where to count this as good or bad. I think most Millwall fans would take it, to be fair. They did do well last year, and I think they are still continuing to improve. I think there are areas they can improve in, and they definitely need. I didn't think Troy Parrott did enough compared to what he has done previous seasons. And he just wasn't the greatest signing as everyone thought he would be. Although the team was experienced enough to get to 11th. I thought Rowett was going to be sacked, and I don't think he has been. So no, I'm not true with that. 11th I went with Stoke, and they're actually 14th. There's only 2 points in that. That wasn't too bad of a prediction either. They weren't in a relegation scrap, and so I think they changed the manager. I think they have done, and that's why they've done better. Haven't been good enough, clearly, so far for the Championship to progress beyond the relegation scrap. But they have now progressed to the table, of course. But they haven't been good enough to get to the playoffs, rather. I think the season after the one I think next season they may make playoffs. I don't know. I'm not making any predictions yet, but they could make playoffs if they have faith in management, if they have good transfer windows, a variety of factors. They could well do it. 10th one with Swansea. I apologise, Swansea fans. I did not think you were going to reach the playoffs. I thought you would be challenged for it, but I didn't think you'd be good enough to actually get it. You always do seem to push for the playoffs, to be fair. I think you were just slightly bottom of the pile, but no, you've managed to gain enough to progress all the way to the playoff finals. So well done. I know you're a bit gutted that you lost against Brentford, but Brentford have been unreal this season. You can always improve, though. It's all about improving. You just need to keep on making sure that all your players are fresh and stuff, and don't stagnate on keeping your team as it is, like Derby have done. Otherwise, you'll slip down. Steve Cooper is a great manager. Try and keep hold of him. I hope he doesn't go to the Premier League, because he might do. Oh, wait. Steve Cooper he has gone to the Premier League, hasn't he? No, he hasn't. No. I thought he was going to be. No, he hasn't. So keep him. Keep him. If you keep him, you're going to do very well. And hopefully you can bring through the youth and make sure it's only a reasonable amount of youth as well. I just don't want to see the same happening to your club as what's happening to mine. But you will do well in the future, Swansea. Trust me. I'm sorry, I predicted you 10th. Maybe you should go a bit higher next time. 9th, I went with Reading. They finished 7th. That was only 2 points. They were in playoffs a lot of the time, to be fair. But even so, I think it's a reasonable prediction to say 9th. I think they were going to gather enough wins to make a challenge for the playoffs. I didn't realise they were going to have such a good start that they would actually end up in the playoffs for most of the season. They were inconsistent at times. I'm not going to try and deny that. But they did have a lot more wins outweighing the losses and draws, to be fair. The Baldock I've not heard anything about. Luco I've not heard anything about, and McNulty I've not heard anything about. So clearly the striker issue was not what I was thinking it was going to be the greatest. The defence has been all right. I think the goalkeeper was one of the best players in the Championship. So I don't think the defence is now actually an issue. Lucas João had a great season as well. So I think we can do very well. Now, I went 8th with Barnsley. I actually finished 5th. But I had more faith in Barnsley than any other team, any other YouTuber I think actually had in Barnsley. So I think I may be mad, but I think I've done better than most. I think they were underdogs for most of the season and will win a handful of games 1-0. Well, they seem to have won enough. They've won 23, so it's more than a handful, isn't it? And I think they did the unthinkable. I don't think they'd challenged the playoffs properly, but they did. I thought they would have had a bit of a poor form stinking results, but that poor form didn't seem to affect them that much. I think they did have a bit of one, but it hasn't really affected them. So that's very good. Well done. You've even exceeded my expectations. 7th, I went with Preston, and Preston actually finished mid-table in 13th. I thought, yeah, typical Preston. They push every year, but they're not got quite enough. No, you've finished mid-table, so you've not really done much to prove me right there. I thought you were going to fail at the final hurdle. It took more than the final hurdle. Although Frankie McElroy, keep him next season, it could be much different. He could get to the playoffs. Or maybe still just not quite team. I thought you had quite a good defence, and I'm still stand by man. Declan Rudd is a great keeper, and I don't think Connor Ripley is anymore. I don't think he's justified that. But Ben Davis and Ben Pearson, I think, have both left at this point now. And so I really do fear for you if you don't invest back into the squad in that defensive department, because I always think of Preston as a strong defensive unit. Not the greatest in attack, but have a good, strong defence. 6th, I went with Derby. Of course, I was going to go with Derby in the playoffs. I mean, I know I got it wrong, but I thought, we're 6th. We'll go with playoffs. We always seem to finish in the playoffs. That's my reasoning. We do. It's not often that we don't finish in the playoffs. I thought we weren't going to continue to keep on bringing in youth. I thought we were going to bring experience through in the transfer window. Come on, bit of spending, and I thought our last push was going to get us into the top 6, just like in 2018-19 season. No, we're just going to play kids every single game and end up in a relegation scrap. I didn't think we were going to win the playoffs. We don't even know who was going to win the playoffs, but yeah. I did think we needed to strike in the attacking department. Who did we bring in? Kazim Richards, who scored 8 goals all season. So what did you expect? We're going to get a relegation 5. We didn't have any good strikers, really, did we? Come on, Derby. 5th, I went with Watford. I was reasonable. They actually got automatic promotion with 91 points. But I think playoffs was a reasonable expectation at one point. I thought they actually went on a very good run to do better than playoffs. They did have a good squad, and they did sack their managers quite a lot. So I did think it was going to be a bit more inconsistent than it has been. But no, they've managed to keep an all-right, decent team together to form enough to get automatically promoted. They did keep hold of a crucial assets, such as Will Hughes and Troy Deeney. I can't think of many from Watford which actually even left and became Premier League regulars. I think they've all got major team players are still there. 4th went with Bournemouth and actually finished in 6th, so I did get the playoffs bit right. There's only 3 points in it. They had a great goal difference, to be fair, Bournemouth, for 27 plus goals. So well done, Bournemouth, for reaching the playoffs, but I thought you would be promoted via the playoffs. That was misplaced trust, wasn't it? No, you lost against Brentford, who went on to win it. Congratulations, Brentford. You just needed to stop losing your best players. I think you've lost a large chunk of your squad, and I think that's why you finished 6th. I think key individuals such as Nathan Ake and Ramsdale left, and then Callum Wilson left afterwards. And it's just hard when you're all that taken out your squad to find enough to get promoted. But I thought you were going to do it, and you proved me wrong, unfortunately. Third, I went with Blackburn, and actually for ages, I've been thinking, you know what? Blackburn should really be in the playoffs. They've got the squad for it. They've got everything. No, they finished 15th. Now, I'm sorry, Blackburn, but you really should be pushing the playoffs with that sort of squad. They've got a strong squad side, and they have always got an outside chance of being in the playoffs, or even an outside chance of automatic. But you've not done it because whether it's management or just what, I think it is mainly down to Tony Mowbray. I think you have been poor this season, and I think Adam Armstrong, I thought was going to have a really good season. He got injured, I think, halfway through. He's had a decent season. Adam Armstrong has been good enough, but it's the players surrounding him which haven't. Therefore, no, I just don't think it has been. Second, I went with Cardiff, and Cardiff actually finished 8th. For a while, I thought Cardiff may have even snuck into the playoffs, but then it sort of just disappeared away from them. I don't know what I was thinking with automatic promotion, but they did all right. They did. But I think Cardiff do need to be in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs the season, like last season, before this one. And therefore, my reasoning was, well, they're good enough to get to the playoff final. Maybe they can do it again or even further into the automatics. Because even that was a settling in season the one before, and they still managed to get into the playoffs. So I thought, yeah, you know what? Get even higher than the playoffs, get automatic. But no, I think they're now in danger of slipping down. They really, I can't. Either they're going to consistently challenge and be up there and maybe eventually get up there, or they'll start declining slowly and eventually end up getting relegated again. Neil Harris, well, he's no longer in the job, is he? So, well, that seems to be great. I don't think Lee Tomlin has scored 20 plus goals. I don't know how many he has scored, but I'm pretty certain I've not heard much of him. Let's see, how many years he scored this season? 1 goal in all competitions. So, no, he's made 5 appearances in the Championship. Clearly not enough for Cardiff to be progressing. No, Kiefer Moore has done a decent job, okay? First, I went with Brentford. So I actually went with Brentford were being promoted. They didn't automatically, but they did by the playoffs. So I will take that. I think that they were going to get promoted. They got promoted. They kept their squad together. And I think a lot of YouTubers did say that Brentford were going to get promoted by automatically, but I don't think many said playoffs. But they've been promoted regardless. Well, we're going to win the league, though. I think they did keep... No, they didn't keep Ollie Watkins. That was a problem, I think. Yeah, because Ollie Watkins went to Villa and ripped up at Villa. Because if they kept Ollie Watkins, I think they could have been automatically promoted. I'm saying it now. I think they could have got automatics promotion if they kept Ollie Watkins. Okay, League One. Oh, this is not going to be good, is it? Now, in my defence, I only really know about Championship and Premier League football. Beyond this point, I don't know the greatest. I went with Crewe being relegated in 24th. They weren't. They were mid-table in 12th. I thought because they've been promoted from League 2, it'd be difficult to adjust. And they hadn't really added that much in the transfer window either, mainly getting 3 players. And a lot of players getting released. I didn't think they'll concede that many goals, and I don't think they actually have, by the looks of it. They've done all right. They've only lost 16 games. So I did think that David Arthur would have been able to get them. I think that David Arthur was all right. I just didn't think they'd have enough goals. I don't think I've really thought about this, have I? because it's sort of broken even. It's -5. It's broken even in terms of goals scored and goals against. So neither are particularly correct, and I think I underestimated Crewe by quite a large margin. 23rd, I went with Wigan, and Wigan just survived by 1 point. They survived, and I thought for ages they were going to be relegated. I even actually thought at this time that they could be expelled because it was during the middle of their financial turmoil. They hadn't had new owners. They were in danger of being kicked out or getting liquidated. I was really worried for Wigan fans, actually, and I thought 23rd was being kind that they'd even finished the season. And they did sell all their players, but they managed to bring in new ones, and they managed to bring enough players together to get get out of the relegation zone. Although I bet for Wigan fans it feels like promotion, doesn't it? I think the quality and depth does still lack. I think they've got to do a lot more to make sure that they do not get relegated next season. 22nd, I went with Milton Keynes. I thought they would get relegated. They didn't. They get 13th. They got mid-table. So NK Dons, for me, I thought were always a bit more of a relegation scrap team. But it hasn't really seemed to be the case this season. Please, any Milton Keynes Dons fans out there, tell me why you've done better this season than previous seasons. Because from what I saw, you didn't have that many great midfielders. Although you did have a good striker, didn't you? I think you did. Did you lump balls up, as I said, from defence? I don't know. I haven't watched any League One. Did you get a lack of goals? And that can't be found out. Not really. You scored 64 goals. Wait, no. Did you? Wait, am I reading that wrong? Yeah, you scored 64 goals. So you've got a good striker, but you've got a terrible defence to conceded 62. No offence, but you do need to improve in your defence. Great rhyming skills. Northampton, I thought were going to get relegated in 21st. They did get relegated in 22nd. 2 points. That's all that separated that. So I think I could take that. I think that was a decent prediction because the playoff team in League Two does always struggle to maintain form into League One. And they have done, so they've been relegated as I thought they would be. I think the manager does rarely finish mid-table, and that's kind of why they've been relegated. I think they've also sacked him at this point. 20th, I went with Wimbledon, and they were actually 19th. Incredibly close margins. There was 3 points in it, so it was all very close. For goal difference, I'm going to stay up. It was a bit more of a goal difference. It was 4 points, but it was close-knit affair at times. They did actually look for long periods that they were going to be relegated. But they got string of results to get them out of the relegation zone and stay up, and they have done. They do have good youth, to be fair. I stand by it. Wimbledon do have great youth. And I also quite one who scored 22 goals for you. Yeah, Joe Pigott, he was great. So the win ratio last season was 1 in 3 of the results will win. That does kind of make you relegation contenders. This season, it's been a bit worse than that. You've lost 19, drawn 15 and won 12. So it's been a bit worse, but the quality of its league has been a bit worse this season, full stop as well. 19th went with Plymouth and they're 18th. This Rochdale and Bristol Rovers and Swindon, you've really screwed me over, to be fair, because I have all these teams 1 point up from where they were. But yeah, Plymouth, I'll take it. I was quite close. It was only 2 points away from it. Ryan Lowe does have a winning philosophy. And I think his style of play was shaped from the best of the Premier League. And it did end up with 14 wins. But he did have 21 losses in that as well. I didn't think he'd get promoted. They haven't been. I think most Plymouth fans can probably take where they finish. I heard a lot of Plymouth fans say, though, that they were going to do very well in League One. It's like, I don't think you are. I think you need to just take a step back and take a realisation of where you are as a club. But a lot of the youth have been brought in, and therefore they have done well. Well done, Plymouth. 18th, I went with Lincoln. Now, let me just check the score right now. They've just lost the playoff final. You heard it here first. They've just lost the playoff final to Blackpool. But they've done very well. They've exceeded my expectations of all form. I did not think that Lincoln City, I would ever see the day that they would be challenging in the playoff final to get to the championship. So, well done. Hats off to you. I didn't think you would do it. I did think you play good football, and I did think you'd get many wins. Well, did you get many wins? Of course you did. You got 22 wins. Did think you get quite a lot of losses, though, and you only got 13. So they could get mid-table, I thought, if their form was decent enough. But I did think you'd struggle to win enough games. But no, you've done very well. I get that one wrong. 17th, I went with Bristol Rovers. Now, Bristol Rovers have really disappointed me this season. They've finished bottom of the league in 24th. Did Ben Garner get sacked? Well, I fully expect that he did. I don't imagine that he's still in the job after getting them relegated. Let's see. Ben Garner, yeah, he's been sacked. What a surprise. He literally has no experience in management whatsoever, and he had a really, really bad win ratio. So, and he's had an even worse one now. So, Bristol Rovers, I'm sorry to say, but sticking with Ben Garner was probably not a good idea. He was good at coaching youth, and I imagine you've still got some youth players coming through your academy, which are all right, but you don't really want to be in League Two, do you? I think you probably lack strikers. I think I'm right in saying that. When you only scored 40 goals, it's not excellent reading. That's the lowest in the league, isn't it? Yeah. So you've scored the least amount of goals in the league. You've not conceded the most, so your defence is all right. It's the striker issue. I don't know what your highest goal scoring record was for your player this season, but please tell me if you're a Bristol Rovers fan. 16th, I went with Swindon Town, and they actually finished 23rd. Thought we were going to do a bit better than that. They did lose their best striker, to be fair, in all honesty, so that's probably why they only scored 55 goals. But they've still had various players step up to the plate. I thought they were going to have what it takes to get over the line, and they haven't. I thought the team bonding spirit and stuff would be a lot better. I don't know how great they've worked as a team, but they've not managed to survive, so I'm going to guess not that great. 15th, I went with Rochdale. Now, they're not actually 15th. They got relegated as well. I didn't think, honestly, that Rochdale were going to be relegated. I did think that the fans would be a problem, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Was your defence strong enough? No, you conceded 78 goals. So no, your defence was not the greatest. I thought you were going to win games 1-0. You really, really have let that prediction down, haven't they? You do have a few standout players who play well at this level. But I just think they're all going to get goals now that you've got relegated. 14th, I went with Shrewsbury. I'm actually 17th. So they were mid-table, as they always are. It was hard to pick where they were going to be. Didn't think that was really going to change. It hasn't changed. He's brought in some good players, Sir Ricketts, and they've managed to get some wins. Not as many as I originally thought. Yeah, they've only got 13, but they've not done too bad in all. It's sort of broken even in the amount of goals scored and conceded. Have you got many draws resulting in mid-table? That's the real question. You've got 15 draws. So, that's an all right total for what I was thinking. I went with Gillingham. We're going to get 13th, and we actually got 10th, so it wasn't that far off either. I mean, it was incredibly close in the table as well. It was only 2 points away from that as well. I don't see the aspiration with Gillingham. I would love the Gillingham fans to say to me if they honestly, hand on heart, believe that they will ever reach playoffs, or if they're going to constantly be a mid-table team. Steve Evans, though, was a great manager. He's actually managed to get them to 10th. So I don't think that your defence was strong enough. You conceded 60 goals, so it wasn't the worst. It does stand quite good stead, actually, that defence. Better than I thought. As long as Gillingham has enough money, I think they can carry on improving. It's just whether they will is another question. 12th, I went with Doncaster, and Doncaster actually finished 14th. They really actually let me down, Doncaster, because they're really normally a playoff contender, normally playing in the playoffs. But they have really gone into mid-table. And I don't think it's really Doncaster's fault, because they've lost Darren Moore, who was a very good manager at getting wins. So that's why they're probably lower than 12th. But I don't think they will really cut off enough for the playoffs, and they've proved that with pretty much dead on mid-table. We're slightly below mid-table, or where the dead mid is. At 11th, we went with Hull City. They actually got straight back. So you've done much better than I thought. I thought your owners weren't going to invest, but they have. And I thought that was going to hamper your progression, and you would have to hope that mid-table was going to be good enough. But no, you've done very well. Can see the rate already. No, you've done well. You've been promoted. Congratulations on winning the league. So if they do carry on investing, then you can get much better, and maybe even get back to the days when you were in the Premier League. I do remember that. So yeah. 10th, I went with Blackpool, but no, they have just been promoted to the Championship. Congratulations, Blackpool. I did not think that you were going to manage to reach the playoffs. I think they were. You do always seem to look up. You are a team which is always on the up. I do respect your past and stuff. I didn't think you were having enough of a squad to make a serious challenge. But you do. For each season which went by, you did look a bit more like a mid-table side. So I did like how you actually managed to get promoted. Everybody thought Sunderland were going to be the team to get promoted by the playoffs when it came to it, and you went against it. You defeated Sunderland, and then no, you didn't defeat Sunderland. You defeated Oxford, so you never even actually played Sunderland in the playoffs. I did think you were going to be in the playoffs by February. I think you were. But I thought you were then going to dip into mid-table, and that didn't happen. You carried on going and got well. 9th, I went with Fleetwood. I thought that would be a reasonable prediction. They're actually 15th. I thought the main reason for this is because Fleetwood normally push for the playoffs like every season. But they didn't. They sort of ended up mid-table. I just thought they were going to be a handful of points off the top 6, and we were really quite far off in the end. 14 points. Could do a bit better next season, I think, Fleetwood. I think we can all agree on that. 8th, I went with Portsmouth, which is my actual first one right in League One. I think this is going to be the last one I'm going to get right, isn't it? But yeah, you do frequently challenge for the playoffs, don't you? And you end up 8th. You're in the playoffs for a long... I think it was even the last game of the season you were in the playoffs, and then you got knocked out. It's just a bit disappointing, isn't it? I just didn't think you have a team to get past the stages, to be promoted. I believe that they were going to be 2 points off. How many points off were they? 2 points. I got it exactly right, that prediction. So I think you should go look back at the original video of League One predictions and clip when I originally said that and put it around on the internet, because that is exactly what I said. And that they were going to lose the final game to get playoffs. That is exactly the words which I said. No lie, you can go and check the video. I've looked at it myself. They were exact words. You can go and look at it, and that would be correct. 7th, I went with Peterborough. I didn't actually think that Peterborough would be automatically promoted in 2nd, so well done, Peterborough. You've got exceeded my expectations because you keep on getting your best players nicked, but still do very well. I thought you're going to be 1 point off the playoffs, but no, you were automatically promoted by 7 points clear. I thought you would have had a bit of a poor start. That's mainly the reason why I thought you would miss out. You did have good results though throughout, really. You only lost 11 games and drew 9, so well done. 6th, I went with Ipswich. Now, Ipswich have actually disappointed me that they finished 9th. I always thought as Ipswich as a sort of mid-table championship club, but no, they're in League One now, and it's really turned south, hasn't it? No pun intended, seeing they are in the south and half of England. They have had their settling in season, but they clearly needed another one because they need to be in the playoffs at this point. I didn't think you were. You think you were going to be in League One next season? I thought. Yeah, I think it may take another couple of seasons at this point to get automatic. 5th, I went with Oxford. I'm actually 6th. There was 3 points in it in the end, so no, it wasn't a bad prediction. I think I'd take that one. They always seem to be in the playoffs, don't they, Oxford? A little club like that, a bit like Derby. Thought they were going to fail to progress. They did fail to progress in the end. They lost out in the semi-stage. But I do believe if they stick with the right manager, don't sack too many, and they can end up in the championship one day. Who knows? One day in the future we might see you there. 4th, I went with Burton. Why do I always back my local teams? But yeah, Burton Albion actually finished 16th. They're a little bit better than they originally started. They had an absolutely diabolical start of the season. I think we can all remember, Burton fans. I feel for you during that time, but you've clearly had a massive upturn in form under Hasselbank. But nobody really knew what the Jake Buxton was going to do. And he ended up doing awful. Take out the core of the side, the core management of the side, which would get you mid-table. You end up in a relegation fight. So I didn't actually think they were going to win the playoffs, but yeah. 3rd, I went with Accrington Stanley. That was a bit of a mad call. They actually finished at 11th. I didn't really know why I went for Accrington. They have been improving massively, to be fair, over recent years. I think their days coming for us joking as a club on the brink of collapse and stuff. I think they have developed a quite good side. I thought they were going to be the underdog side, which turned out to be Lincoln this season. But it could well have been. I mean, they did get 11, so they were challenging. They do have a good work rate, and you just only a few more signings, I think, keep a core of the squad, and you could well get into the playoffs. 2nd, I went with Charlton, and Charlton, you actually finished 7th. You were the yo-yo club, and now you're just not. I could have seen you getting promoted, but you just haven't, have you? You've lost the ability to get back up to the championship, and I think you need to steady yourself in League One because you need some stability of some sort. And I thought Sunderland would win the league, but they actually finished 4th. They could have got promoted, but no, they bottled it. Like literally bottled it, They do have the squad. I think they have the management. It's if the owners keep on chopping and changing. You just need to take a reality check, fam. You just need to look at it and we can do this if we work cooperatively with the manager. And also, they didn't really have the fans for large portions of the season, so they could have got promoted if they did have the fans. I know it's a bit, oh no, I've just looked at my first prediction in League Two. Can we skip the 24th? Anybody? No, we can't. Oh. 24th, I went with Morecambe. Oh, no. They finished in the playoffs. They finished 4th, of course they did. Prove me wrong. Go on then. I mean, I had think I had a valid reason to think they were going to be relegated. They were only just surviving for the last 2 seasons. And I thought that the League 2 this season has actually been quite difficult. They had Salford City, Tranmere Rovers, Bolton Wanderers, Bradford City. All of these teams are quite difficult to beat, and there's a few others, of course, I could chuck in. But I thought there's no way they're going to get into the playoffs. I thought, well, they could even get relegated. Clearly, I thought their win percentage was quite poor under the previous management, and I thought it was almost destined to be a relegation. And I thought they were going to concede too many goals due to a poor goalkeeper. Clearly proved me wrong with only conceding 58. Although 58 goals, that is quite a lot still to concede, isn't it? In terms of that's quite low down the league in terms of goals conceded, isn't it? So maybe do invest in a goalkeeper if you get promoted. 23rd, I went with the other playoff team, Forest Green Rovers. That is a shocker. That is. I don't even know if I'll do League 2 next season because that was just so bad. I thought they were just lucky with results going their way for the last few years. But no, they've even managed to prove me wrong again to the playoffs. They have done well in the last 4 years. But I thought it was going to be incredibly hard running games to start with, no, just to affect their confidence. I think if I do look at Forest Green's season, I do want to sort of look if I did get some of it right, because I predicted what the first 3 games was. I thought it was going to be 2 losses and then a draw to begin with. So if I go back to the beginning of the season, come on. Let me just go on the Wikipedia page. It's quite hard for this, sorry, about the weight, guys. Okay, let's see. No, they managed to beat Bolton and have 2 draws. So they've had a great start to the season. Sorry. Clearly didn't have enough faith in you. For quite a small town, you wouldn't have had enough fans either. And it was just various factors, which was just something that told me just like this team's going to be relegated. I've been in the league recently, so no, prove me wrong. 22nd, Carlisle United, and finished 10th. 10th. That is just absolutely ridiculous. How have they finished 10th? They always seem to just scrape it over recent years. They've always just scraped in survival. But no, they were playoff contenders now. But I did say they had some good youngsters. I stand by that. They do have some good youngsters. I thought the manager would have been the problem with his inexperience. But no, they haven't stayed up on the phone at Walsall. And they're confidently mid-table to playoff challengers. And then 21st, I went with Cheltenham Town and they won the bloody league. Are you joking? What is wrong with my League 2 predictions? Oh, I thought they were going to underachieve. I didn't think they were going to go win the league. I thought we were going to chop and change manager to try and find the right form. I thought we were going to stay up by quite a decent margin, to be fair, but it would just look worse just by the position they were in. But no, they got promoted. They are defensive. They are very defensive. They have only conceded 39 goals, but the attacking department was the problem. As I thought, they only scored 61. But so I did get that bit right. But I thought that Michael Duff was going to be sacked around about December time. I didn't think they were going to manage to stay up, though. So I was wrong, but hands up. 20th, I went with Stevenage, which I thought even at the beginning of the season was being generous because they were pretty much destined. They were meant to be relegated if it wasn't for Macclesfield's point deduction. I thought they were struggling financially. They were struggling. They were only staying up because of the 2 clubs struggling with finances of Bury getting expelled and Macclesfield now also folding out of business, unfortunately. So I just thought it wasn't ethically right that they even stayed up. But no, they have done, and now they've finished 14th, which isn't the worst prediction compared to where they actually finished. Being 20th to 14th isn't as bad as the other ones has been. I know it's still bad. I thought they were going to change managers frequently. I just think that new manager feeling would have resulted in safety. I think they carried on that new manager feeling a bit better than I would have originally hoped. Or not hoped, but just believed in, as they finished mid-table. But I think they have sacked a manager, though. I think only 7 points was going to separate them. But they did have a good one in mid-season. I think that I was correct with saying that. I think they did sack their inexperienced manager eventually. 19th went with Newport, and I'm pretty sure Newport is another one. Yeah, Newport finished in the playoffs as well. I'm pretty sure I put every single one of the playoff and promotion contenders in the bottom half of the table. Well, that's what it looks like. I thought because of the loss of staff, it would be really difficult to regather a squad and mount a serious push. The captain had left, who stopped most of the goals from being conceded, and I thought we were just going to struggle in general. Well, we finished well above relegation zone by more than the 12 points which I originally thought. No, they finished in the playoffs. Between them was 73 to 45. You can figure out that maths yourself, but that was clearly not what I thought. I did say I had a good manager, Michael Flynn, and they were just clearly not as good as I originally thought. 18th was Salford, and Salford did bottle it, actually. They finished 8th. So I wasn't as much as I thought, but as they didn't finish mid-table, they finished just outside the playoffs. They do spend lots of money. No one can deny it. That they do just chop and change managers, and I thought that chop and changing would end up with a really, really poor mid-season. Not mid-season, mid-table. And but no, it means they've just even the managers which managed to give them in playoffs and keep them in playoffs for large extents even get sacked, and therefore they haven't finished in the playoffs. I thought they were going to get relegated at one point. 17th went with Barrow, and they finished 21st, so it wasn't worst. It's only 4 points in that. It wasn't worst. No. They're the same manager that got them promoted. They didn't have probably the same manager who got them promoted. But I think the mindset and style of play was with them. They clearly had enough to go and stay up. But I think that good effect at the beginning of the season, which they did have, was eventually cut down, and they did look like they were going to drop down in the end. But they did survive, so congratulations on staying in the EFL. It's not an easy task to do. I thought they were going to be just above relegation scrap, but the relegation scrap this season hasn't been the greatest. It's sort of been destined to be Southend and Grimsby for quite a while, hasn't it? 16th, I actually got one right. I'd actually got Mansfield Town to be 16th, so correct for me. Mansfield do seem to jump all over the table. You can't deny. It just seems... It is very hard to predict, and I thought this was going to be the hardest one to predict out of the whole league. So I decided to bet between mid-table and relegation scrap, and that's exactly where they finished, 16th. Come on, get in there. Due to the fact that they had poor form from last season, I thought that was going to continue, but they would eventually turn it around and climb the table to 16th. Well, that did sort of happen, to be fair. Mansfield weren't they great at the start, and they eventually sacked their manager and replaced him with Nigel Clough, who managed to get them to 16th. So clearly there's something which Nigel Clough has done, which has rejuvenated the squad, really. 15th went with Leighton, who actually finished 11th. So I don't think that's too bad, all in all. It's sort of a natural progression, wasn't it, that they finished in mid-table. But no, they finished a bit higher than mid-table. Let's be generous. They finished in the upper mid-table. So putting them in mid-table was a natural place. They have a flair in the squad, to be fair, with them getting the second highest amount of yellow cards in the league last season, of 72 yellow cards and 3 red cards. I don't know if that's the same this season. I've not looked at that stat personally, but it could be, it could not be. I think the squad is adapting with each progressive men, and I think there could be a chance for them to get the playoffs next season. But we will see. We will see. I think there could be also a lot of teams lower down, maybe getting it. Maybe a Barrow. Chuck that in there. 14th, I went with Colchester, and they actually finished 20th. So they've not had the greatest season as I actually thought they were going to have. I thought that many of the fans actually expected them probably to get in the playoffs. So I thought I was being a bit harsh by saying they were going to be mid-table. But yeah, I've been there as a fan, you see. For a few seasons, it's great. And then it just turns to mid-table mediocrity. And clearly, they've actually dropped down much worse than I originally thought. And that drop has resulted them in almost a relegation scrap with their nearby neighbours, Southend. But the manager has just started out in a much better league. So it would take time for his ideas to get implemented. And I think that was the case. Just took a bit longer than it took. I think they might sack the manager. I can't remember. 13th, I put Oldham. And they actually finished 18th. That's not the worst. They do also jump around mid-table. They've finished mid-table in 18th. So there you go. I didn't expect a lot of change this season. I didn't think they should be facing relegation threats. They've not really been facing relegation threats. They've just about been keeping it afloat, haven't they? So, yeah. 12th, I went with Southend. Southend actually got relegated. It's always difficult to get a relegation. I'm very sorry for the Southend fans. It must be devastating going into non-league now. I just didn't see them jumping up immediately, and they actually dropped down again. I don't even think they had faith with a new manager who brought through youth to help the team in the future. I think it's just been such a bad season for them. 11th, I went with Harrogate, and Harrogate were actually 17th. So not the greatest. I thought they were going to surprise the league a bit more than 17th, but they have surprised the league and did reach 17th. So, yeah. Simon Weaver has been at the club for a long time, so he does know how to progress this club. And I have full faith that he will manage to keep them progressing from 17th and go upwards. And will continue to progress. Never know, we could see Harrogate Town in the Premier League one day. Whoa, steady, Steve. 10th, I went with Exeter. And they actually finished 9th. That's not too bad a prediction. I think I would take that. I thought, as always, they'll push for the playoffs. They did push for the playoffs, didn't they? They do have a strong defence, didn't they? Did they have a strong defence? Yeah, they only conceded 50 goals. It wasn't the greatest amount of defensive work, but it was an all-right amount. And the manager was experienced, but we just didn't have enough to get it over the line, did they? They will win many games, I said. Did they win many games? They won 18, which is the highest stat they have. So I think that is true. It's quite hard for them to predict. I think they would have a good Christmas period. I'm not really going to check that at the moment. This video is going on for too long as it is. 9th, I went with Bolton. And Bolton actually finished third. They got automatic. So well done, Bolton fans. Looking at Theo and Fogden and Fogdad. I think Stump Pegs the Bolton fan. There's a lot of Bolton fans across the YouTube community. So, well done. You got promoted from League 2. That's the faith which I didn't have in you. I thought they were going to be very disappointed because the new manager doesn't really know the squad. And he sort of added a lot of players which didn't really suit his style of play. But they managed to get promoted. They have managed to get the best out of these players. I thought this was going to be a transition season and maybe next season they'd get promoted. But no, they have got promoted for the first time of asking. 8th, I went with Scunthorpe. Now, Scunthorpe actually got relegated. No, they didn't get relegation. Sorry, they got one place above relegation. I thought last season, after their transition season, it looks like they're just sliding down a slope at the moment. I thought they were going to start challenging again. I think they've conceded. I think the goalkeeping department has really let them down. I think that's the problem. Conceding they've conceded 41 goals. So I don't think it is that, which is a problem. No, they haven't. They've scored 41 goals and they've conceded 64. So yes, that is a problem. Conceding 64 goals, that's the second worst defence in the league. So we clearly need to get a better goalkeeper. The manager is still inexperienced, and that form does sort of wander off, doesn't it? And I think that inexperience was probably misplaced a bit. I think we're learning the hard way now that this inexperienced is not a good thing, as originally thought. I went through the playoffs with Grimsby. What was I thinking? They got relegated. I just thought Ian Holloway, the experienced manager, would have done better. He's got teams promoted in the past. He's won promotion out of the playoffs twice with Blackpool and Crystal Palace. I just thought, you know what? I think Grimsby could be a cheeky shout with this management. I know they sacked him, which probably didn't help the situation to make them get relegated. And I thought there would be a huge influence down a manager like this, which would grab many of the players down to this level. He also had a good win percentage with them. I saw that was going to continue. I thought they would even get promoted via the playoffs. I thought he was just so good of a manager. Clearly a misplaced faith there, really. 6th point with Port Vale, they actually finished 13th, so that's not the greatest. I just thought they were going to improve from last season. They're 1 point off the playoffs, but no, they haven't. They've stumbled down a bit into mid-table again. I thought they were just going to lose the playoffs due to an experience, really. I don't know if John Askey's still in the job, but he did make a lot of changes to the squad, and I do know that. And I think they could have pointed their direction towards the playoffs. But yeah. 5th, I went for Bradford City. They finished 15th. So Bradford City have really disappointed me. They did have their transition season last season in the league. I think now they're probably stuck in League Two for quite a while. And I thought they were going to take a step up this season and make the playoff final. But no, they haven't. They've really let me down. Stuart McCall is loyal to Bradford. And I think he is gone now. He's been sacked. So I don't know really where they're going to go from here, Bradford. I think they could. There's a lot of danger in the club at the moment. 4th one with Cambridge, and I'm not too disappointed with that because they actually finished automatic. But it was only 2 points in it in the end. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with Cambridge could be playoffs. I thought this would be an unexpected team, and they were quite unexpected. I don't think anybody really thought that Cambridge had a chance of getting, apart from probably optimistic Cambridge fans, thought that they were going to get promoted automatically. I didn't really think why a lower half team would come into my head and think they would be the ones who get promoted. But they've even managed to succeed past what I thought. So there's something in my instincts, I think, which says this team's going to do well. I should maybe just put them on the top of the league next time. This has paid off clearly with Cambridge and Barnsley, isn't it? Although not so much with West Brom or Accrington Stanley. So it works sometimes. There you go. They do have some great know-how of teams, don't they? They have a lot of experience at this level. They also have a combination of their squad of youth and experience, which is clearly the perfect combination for promotion of challenging. I did think they were going to lose the semi-final, though, and so they probably would have done if they were in the playoffs. It's easier, but you don't want to take that gamble, do you? 3rd, I went with Tranmere. I actually went 7th, so and I think that was probably not quite as I don't think they did as well as they originally hoped, Tranmere. I think they were looking for automatics. I thought they were going to get automatic promotion. as all fans would have been expecting. As I think they probably were planning behind the scenes. So I think that has worked. Clearly, they have been playoff challenging, but I think the inexperience of the management has just made a bit of a lack of automatic challenges a bit more of a playoff one. They are used to the league as well, so they did know how to get into the playoffs. Second, I went with Walsall, and that I'm really disappointed about how Walsall was finished 19th. Because I thought their transition season was last season in the league, and they could go and push on and get automatic. But no, they've really stagnated and just no progression I see there at all. They have got a good youth. I mentioned and signalled out Wes McDonald, who was a great defender. Now, defensive-wise, they haven't actually been too bad. They've only conceded 53 goals. It's more in the striking department, which is where the problem is. They've only scored 45. So we do need to get a better striker in. I think there just isn't as much settled in that squad as probably needs to be. There needs to be a better squad for them to get to progress. I know it's a bit of a cliche thing to say. I went first with Crawley. Now, Crawley actually finished 12th. So it does disappoint me that they didn't do as well as I thought. I thought their scouting network was quite good. They do get good players in and it would result in good results. But whenever a player comes to Crawley, they always just seem to do really badly. I don't know why that is. Have they done well in a cup competition? I think they did do well in a cup competition actually this year. I seem to remember them doing all right, third round or something like that. They do have a lot of experienced players as well. But they've just not really turned up, have they? So yeah, I think it is a bit of a natural progression. They sort of stopped the natural progression from relegation scrap to mid-table to promotion. I think it is still higher than they were last season. I think they were 13th last season. But even so, I think there does need to be a bit more work in the club. Right, for the National League, well, this is already going to be a couple of results out of it. As there were literally 22 teams at the end of it. Well, I know Dover technically is still in the league because the other ones have got there. Dover, you've really confused the whole mess. But 24th, as there's normally 24 teams in it, I've got Altrincham. They actually did relatively well, all things considered. They finished 17th, so they didn't get relegated, as I originally predicted them. And adapted better to the league than I thought, because I thought they're new to the league and find it a bit hard to adjust. And a bit limited fans as well, and poor defenders. Well, if we look at it in depth, right, they did 17th. The fans obviously didn't matter that much, so it wasn't the greatest. Did they have a poor defence? They did concede 60 goals, but obviously that isn't that poor of a defence. So clearly must have underestimated. It's an average defence. They still concede a bit too many, but I don't think that's where the problem is at the moment with Altrincham. I think going forward they need some strikers. Yeah, well done. You survived Altrincham, beyond my expectations. 23rd, I went with Boreham Wood. They actually finished in 14th. So, no, they didn't. I did get called an absolute numpty for this one. I got a whole abuse for saying that Boreham Wood were going to get relegated. I can now see why. I thought the inexperience of the management and the failure of promotion would sort of deeply affect the club. And I thought he was going to leave due to the poor results. I don't know if he actually has. I haven't looked to the non-league changes of management. But I do think it's probably Boreham Wood have probably disappointed that they finished 14th. But, you know, it wasn't that bad. 22nd went with Stockport. Now, did they get relegated? No. What did they do? They finished in the playoffs. I just thought because of the lack of fans, in the area they weren't, and everyone else having fans, they weren't going to do well. But clearly, because they're already used to the lack of fans, I think that's why. I'm joking, Stockport fans, calm now. But they were just not going to do very well. I think they seem to be on the way up. And I honestly say this from the bottom of my heart, Stockport, that you are going to do well in the future. I just thought you weren't going to do well this season because I think, weren't you in the National League North a few seasons ago? And you have had a massive rejig of the squad, but I think because most of the league has that, it's all benefited you. 2013 went with Wrexham, and Wrexham were actually bottled the playoffs and got 8th. So no, they haven't been relegated. They have had a close call the previous season, and I didn't think they were going to stay up. But no, that close call was clearly enough for them to push on towards the playoffs, wasn't it? I didn't think Dean Keats was the right manager. It was quite dubious for points, the winter points ratio. I don't know. I really don't know what to rate of Wrexham next season. Should I put them as promotion? Should I put them as mid-table? Should I think they're going to be relegated? I don't know where we're going with this club, so I'll have to think hard about that when it comes to their predictions. Torquay, I went with 20th. What did they do? They came second, didn't they? Of course they did. Well, I thought because they stabilised in the league, they will continue to stay in the league. But I thought there was going to be a bit of a second season syndrome. But that hasn't really happened. I thought that they were not going to have a momentum from the previous season, but they have carried that momentum through. Have they conceded a lot of goals? Well, let's look at it. They've conceded 39 goals, so I've clearly underestimated their defence. It's not the greatest defence in the playoff, the top 3. It's the worst of the top 3, but it's still a very decent defence, so I will not underestimate your goalkeeper in the future. And I thought you were only going to just survive and thought your playoff push will come next season. But no, it's come this season. So well done, Torquay. 19th went with Yeovil. They finished 16th, so I'm not too disappointed with that. I think there's not that much bad. Yeah. I thought because they lost the playoffs, they would have a detrimental effect on the side. It clearly has had some. I thought they were going to have a string of poor performances throughout the season and ended in 19th. They have had periods of disappointing results. I think we can all agree on that. And I think a lot of outsiders would think, oh, this is low. They used to be in the Championship. So I think they could easily bounce back. They could very well, but they just need a new manager. I think 16th was about right for them this season. But yeah, 18th have gone with Maidenhead United, and Maidenhead United actually finished 13th, so not too far off either. I thought there were going to be more relegation scrapping and just surviving, really. But no, they finished mid-table. So they have pushed away from relegation scrap, haven't they? Did they concede a lot of goals? Now, this is where I think they did. They conceded 60 goals. So, yeah, I think they have conceded a lot of goals. Not as many as some teams. But I think they still need a better goalkeeper. They did lack squad depth. I think that was quite clearly seen at times in the season. But they have gelled together and got mid-table, haven't they? So, well done. 17th have got Aldershot. They finished 15th. Very close. Very close to what I was predicted there. And they've found a way to get out of that relegation scrapping team, which they had. I think, given a few more games, if the other two teams were still in the league, they could have potentially slipped into my position. Because that would be an extra 4 games. So they could have well dropped their heads a bit there. I think they do have international players, don't they? So But they do have a lack of squad depth, but that was not clearly a problem to finish 15th. 16th, I went with Barnet, and Barnet actually got relegated as the lowest club that's still playing at the end of their games. But do I believe that they've not actually got relegated? Just to clarify, because of the messed up nature of that league, they haven't actually been relegated. But I think Barnet have a new manager, and I think that did unsettle the squad, meaning they were so bad. I thought if they finished mid-table this season, they could go on and improve and get promoted the following season. But I don't know how realistic that's going to be now. They do, I said they had a strong defence. They conceded 88 goals. I don't think they do. I think that's a bit of a misplaced judgment, isn't it? It was mainly because they actually had more goalkeepers than most people in the entire league had, but clearly neither of them were actually that good. But I thought it was going to be impossible for them to get to playoffs, and it clearly was. 15th, I went with Solihull, and Solihull actually finished 11th, so I don't think I got that one too badly wrong. The manager is pretty much unknown, and so he's done better than my expectations. The faith has clearly been well done, and I quite like how they actually play. Actually, to be fair, I think he was bringing through youth. I don't entirely know. I know they have quite a lot of Coventry loanees. They did have quite good squad depths, and they're going to end mid-table for me. And did they finish mid-table? Yeah. I'll go with mid-table, just. They have Joe Sabaro, who came from Burton, who I know is a great player. And now they have Jamie Ward, who's also a great player, although I don't think he's made that many appearances. I think he's done more in his lawnmower career at the moment. So I think you will become a really, really good team. And I think could even go and see a playoffs next season. How about that? 14th, I've gone with Wealdstone, and they actually finished 19th. So a bit lower than I expected. I thought their momentum would carry them forward into this season and a bit of a mid-table result due to Dean Brennan already knowing the squad. We could have helped them sell me. They've survived. Well, not as any relegation in the L, but they survived, which is better than I thought. They do struggle to keep clean sheets. They've got the worst defensive record in the league. They've conceded 99 goals. That might need to be addressed for next season. I think we can all agree. But you've scored 49 goals, so that might also need to be addressed. There is some problems there at Wealdstone. So get your checkbook out and start signing some players. I think they will. I don't know whether to see this club going next season. It depends what the transfer recruitment is like, really. 13th, I've gone with Dover Athletic. Now, I don't really count Dover Athletic. We won't really talk about them because they sort of refuse to play the rest of the games, and so therefore got null and voided all their points. So we'll just move on. 12th, I've gone with Eastleigh, and Eastleigh actually finished 9th. So that's not too bad. That's 5 points. That's not 6 points in it. They do always see mid-table, but actually was pushing for the playoffs this year and actually just dropped out of it. So they did challenge for the next step, of what I've been critical of. I did worry about Ben Stevens, or I don't know, having been only an assistant. Didn't think he was going to be immediately great, but I felt he did improve as the season go on, didn't he? But he did just miss out, really, didn't he? He could have won into the playoffs almost, but no. They have a good enough squad, though, I think, to carry on going. I went with Bromley with 11th and actually finished 7th, the bottom of the playoff one. I thought we were going to push for the playoffs as usual, but drift off towards mid-table at the end. They didn't drift off this time. No, they had very well in the last run of games. And they had some quite good. I thought they were just a quite good average squad. I thought they just a bit better than average, enough to get away from everyone else. And Neil Smith clearly does know the squad, and so things won't change. I didn't think, although they did change enough to get to the playoffs, so I thought they were going to be more mid-table. I didn't think the captaincy was greatest, but I don't know much about this level, so they got that wrong. 10th, I went with Weymouth and actually finished 18th. That was quite a poor prediction, really, all things considering. I thought they would have carried a bit more momentum on from last season to be sort of pushing for the playoffs yet again, but no, they've sort of really dropped down, haven't they? New manager feeling would have get them up the league as well as beginner's luck or something like that, but no, just a bit this struggling team. The defence, I stand by, is not good enough. Conceding 71 goals is atrocious. I think that needs to be amended, and so you need to get a striker. You're the second worst strike rate scores, like goals scored in the league after Barnett. So that might need to be done as well. But that's what I thought they weren't going to get in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to be that bad enough to end up in a relegation scrap. 9th, I went with Notts County. Notts County actually finished in the playoffs, so they did exceed my expectations. I think there's always that expectation with Notts County that they're going to immediately return, and that just doesn't happen in non-league football. They could win the playoffs, and they could get an immediate return. They just need to, I still think, hand on heart, that they need to go back to basics and appreciate where they are and build a new squad to gradually push up. I think they were going to fall just above relegation zone and then go and work their way up all the way towards challenging with players. And I thought they were going to be like, oh yeah, this will be a great season. But no, they finished in the playoffs, so that's better than I expected. 8th, I went to Kings Lynn. We're not even going to talk about that. Kings Lynn finished in 21st, conceding 98 goals. That was not good, was it? No, I thought that they were the best team to have come out of the National League, North-South leagues, and I thought they were going to, that experience of Ian Culverhouse of getting a team promoted would have been enough to carry them forward. The team has experienced momentum from last season. Well, they didn't they? That started for the first month or so and then just didn't. I think that they would have finished just outside the playoffs. But no, they did look very strong to begin with, but they just drifted off, didn't they? Adam Marriott, I thought, was a great striker. And to be fair, they did score 50 goals. So I don't think the goal-scoring department is too bad. They have a good enough goal-scoring department to end mid-table anyhow. It's just the defence, really. That really needs to be improved. 7th, I went with Hartlepool. I thought Hartlepool would reach the playoffs. Did they reach the playoffs? Yes, they did. They didn't finish in 7th, they finished in 4th. But I thought, you know what? They'll be playoffs. They have adjusted to this level and started to go on the way back up. They've done better than I thought, though, on the way back up to reach the playoffs. They have stayed in the playoffs for most of their season. That is true. They were actually third for quite a while, weren't they? And they also have a manager with experience of promotion. I still don't think they'll be promoted, though. They don't really understand the complicated playoff system, do they? So I think that lack of experience in this complicated playoff system will just hamper them. I don't think they'll lose to Bromley, but I think they'll be more likely ending up probably one of the teams which end up in the final four and lose against a team like Torquay or something like that. I've gone with a 6th with Sutton, and Sutton actually won the league, so they've done better than even I expected. I thought they had great squad depth, which has clearly helped them and has helped them so much that they've won the league and got promoted. And so they've actually performed better than even overachieving what I thought. Their experience in the league for 5 years has clearly brought them the success to get them to the EFL. So well done, Sutton. I didn't think you were going to win the playoffs. I didn't even think you were going to win the league. So exceeding all expectations there. Now, literally 1 point in this one, I've went with 5th with Chesterfield. Now, if you just click slightly early on in the season, you did have your transition season last season, and now you're going to the playoffs, and you're in the playoffs, aren't you? I thought you were going to make the semi-finals. We'll see that. You're currently in the quarterfinals. If you beat Notts County, I will be very happy for you. I want Chesterfield to win it. They are a Derbyshire club, of course. So, yeah, you do win it. Beat everyone else. Beat the Notts guys over there. And John Pemberton is a great manager, by the way. He does bring through youth well. And they also have good squad depth to enable them to improve further. 4th, we're not going to talk about because it was Macclesfield Town. And, of course, they're ceasing to exist at this moment in time. There is a new Phoenix Combo called Macclesfield FC who have now taken the stadium and are playing in the North West Counties League, something like that. I think that sounds about right. 3rd, I've gone with Dagenham and Redbridge, who are actually in 12th. I thought their experience in the league for quite a while would have meant they could do well and create upsets and stuff. Because I do remember when Dagenham and Redbridge were actually in the Football League. Thought they were going to make a playoff final or something. But, it just hasn't really happened for them this season. They've not really gone beyond mid-table. I think they weren't going to progress and get promoted. I didn't think they'd be that good, but their players are clearly not good enough as what I originally intended for them. But the defensive record's not bad. It's just the scoring needs to improve ever so slightly. 2nd was Halifax Town, and actually finished 10th. It's always hard to place Halifax Town. I don't think I could really do that. I thought Pete Wild would have done a settling in season last time, and so would have done better. But no, they've ended up mid-table. I actually thought SD Halifax Town was going to get promoted. But, they've not done the greatest. I thought Sam Johnson is a great goalkeeper. I don't know whether I still agree with that or not. He conceded 54 goals, so it's not the greatest. I think that's lower mid-table form, so not the greatest. But that could have been poor defence, not just the goalkeeper squad. But I thought they had a good collective squad. But they can obviously make improvements then. And first I went with Woking, and that's an embarrassment, isn't it? Because they finished 20th. I thought Alan Dawson had been gradually improving the squad over the last 2 years, but they were ready to go and get promoted, being a bit under the radar, and go to win it one by one. And at the last day of the season, they would have won it completely. Their defence, I did say, was the biggest problem. Well, it's true, I think. Probably 69 goals isn't the greatest. That's probably where they deserve to be at the moment, then, isn't it? I think Matt Jarvis is still a great goal. Is he a great striker, or has he just had an off season? Let me know if you're a Woking fan about that. They've only scored 42 goals, so I think that is mainly the problem. I thought he was going to win the Golden Boot. I think they do need to get a probably better striker, but let me know. On to the National League North. Now, I don't know if these can really count, these predictions, because the season was curtailed. But we're going to go through them anyhow. 22nd, I went with Gateshead. Now, Gateshead actually finished 10th in the curtailed season. I actually thought they were going to be relegated due to the financial insecurity they had, because they got relegated due to the financial insecurity of the previous season. But no, they've finished challenging towards the playoffs, so they've done much better. I thought the manager's inexperience, he does still have the inexperience. I think the goalkeeper was poor, and so was the strikers. We cannot back that up with any evidence. Well, they've only played 14 games, and they've conceded 15, scored 17. So I think they've been in quite low-scoring games by the sounds of it. And the strikers is the poorness, not really the goalkeeper. 21st, I went with Chester. Did they finish 21st? No, they finished 3rd. Of course they did. I just thought that joint managers is not the greatest idea to have at any level, but they've clearly proved me wrong. I think that if there was a January transfer window which was a bit more active, I think they could have lost a lot of their players, couldn't they? And I think the fans were going to get agitated quickly, and I don't think they did, because they did very well. 20th, I went with Leamington, and Leamington did very, very well. Leamington are actually 9th. Now, I did look from the start of the season that they were going to be very, very much in trouble, which is not how it should be. But no, they finished 9th. They have been a gradually declining side, so they've done amazingly well this season. I thought they were only going to survive by a point, and the only person who I thought was a good player for them was Connor Taylor, who had experience at this level, but all the others didn't really, did they? And I didn't think they had that many fans, although I got criticised for saying Leamington didn't have that many fans and they were one of the best teams in the league. So, shows what I know about this level, eh? 19th from Bradford Park Avenue, actually finished 15th in the curtailed season. I reckon they could have finished a lot lower. I think if other teams were low them and play their games in hands, they could have well finished lower. I didn't have any doubt they were going to survive, which I think they should definitely be aiming for as a maximum. The attacking threat was they played 16 games and they conceded 30 and scored 26. Which shows it's quite high scoring, so they probably don't have that good a defence. But Ollie Johnson has clearly done a decent enough job to keep them where they are, hasn't he? 18th went with Alfreton, and Alfreton actually finished 21st. So, no, it's not that bad. It was only 3 points off the predicted place. They didn't. I don't think they had enough squad depth, really. That was the problem. They had to kind of bring in youth and free transfers, which was a bit of a risk. I thought they were, if the season continued, I think they would have avoided relegation. I think Billy Heath is not the greatest manager for Alfreton. I'm sorry to say about our Derbyshire club, but I just don't think he is. Because I'm pretty sure he's the owner as well. Or if I might be thinking of another club. 17th, I went with Chorley. And Chorley actually finished 7th. So I don't know what I was thinking there. It was just the poor form I had last season. I think I thought I was going to carry on into the next season until Jamie Vermiglio was going to get sacked. I don't know if he has been sacked. I don't think I've not heard much. I don't really tune into this level. The defence, I still stand by, is great. They've only conceded 25 goals in 18 games, which isn't the worst. I'm not going to lie. It's not the best either, but it's average. But Louis Dodds was their best striker, and he was moved to Hendonsford Town. And Courtney Meppin-Walter was going to Telford. So it did look weak in their strength positions. So I thought they were going to be very lucky that they weren't going to drop, but they went playoffs. They went up and beyond. 16th, I went with Gloucester City. They actually finished first. Not the greatest. I thought James Rowe was still learning his game as a manager. So I thought he was going to go away from a relegation scrap, really become a bit of a mid-table team. But no, they won the league. They've been announced as winners, but not got promotion. They do have a good range of players, though. I've no doubt in the ability of players. I've always thought they were good working together. 15th, I went with Darlington, and Darlington actually finished 19th, so I overestimated them a bit. I just thought Alan Armstrong was a great manager at being ambitious. But I thought they would have definitely started in the playoffs and would have dropped off towards the end. Because normally they do challenge. They do normally challenge. They don't normally end up that far down. I think the problem was the recognised goalkeeper. Either the free agent or youth transfer is clearly an issue. They only played 11 games and conceded 11 goals. So they conceded a goal a game, which isn't the worst or best, I don't know. 14th, I went with Spennymoor Town. They finished 13th by 1 point. So I don't think that was too bad. I thought that they had no goalkeeper, so that would have made a difference. I thought they would have been challenging though a bit more. A bit disappointed to see that they weren't challenging any more than they should be. They conceded 14 goals in 13 games, so again, not the best or the worst. 13th, I got with Kidderminster Harriers. They actually finished 5th. I thought the seeming Russell Penn was a bit inexperienced. It would make a sort of transition season where they will play good football. It does seem like they've played good football, though, to be fair. And the good squad depth has enabled them to get 5th. I think they will eventually get up the pyramid if they have a full season next time. 12th, I went for AFC Telford United, and they actually finished 14th. So Gavin Cohen actually will help. I said will help finish Telford mid-table with various results throughout the season and will finish strongly. Well, I think they could have well done that, to be fair. They were on a bit of a stinking run of form towards the end of the season, well, before it got curtailed. But I do think they could have got 12th. But they don't have the greatest goalkeeping department. And that is shown by their 16 goals conceded in 13 games. But they did score 20, so they clearly have a good strength in attacking. 11th for Curzon Ashton, now actually 16th. So another team in mid-table, which is just the wrong end. The poor goalkeeping I would put as a bad decision, which would make them mid-table. But what was key was their holding midfielders. They had very good. They did concede 26 goals in 17 games, so I think I was right about the poor goalkeeping department there. 10th, I went with Hereford. They finished 12th. Again, not that bad. There was 1 point in it, and they still had a game to play above the people who were that place and that positioning. So I could have very well got that right. Josh Gowling, I still stand by. He's very inexperienced. He was actually still a player. And so it would take time to progress. And it does seem to be true that I've proved that, really. I think the goalkeeping department was the problem why they wouldn't reach the playoffs. They conceded 16 goals in 13 games. So there is clearly something slightly wrong there, but not massively so. 9th, I went with Kettering Town, actually finished 18th. Ooh, that's not the greatest, is it? So I thought Paul Cox's experience would have been a bit better. Although this clearly must have been one of his bad club spells, really, because he has good and bad spells, doesn't he? They actually are one of a few clubs, though, in the league I said, which had a good goalkeeper. Well, is that proved? Not really. They conceded 23 goals in 14 games. They have a good striking department, though. I thought this team was going to surprise a lot of people. They didn't. 8th, I went with Brackley Town. They actually finished 4th, so I don't think that was too far off either. I thought it was going to be like 1 goal in goal difference or something ridiculous like that. And it could have well been it, to be fair. They scored a lot of goals, but they also conceded a fair few amount as well. I thought the defence was not good enough. I thought Daniel Lewis was a decent goalkeeper, but the rest of the defence around him was not. I think that's probably why we conceded 19 goals. Kevin Wilkin, I think, has experience with doing well with Brackley in the past, but he wasn't shy, was he? From stamping his authority. 7th for the playoff position, I went for AFC Fylde, and actually did finish in the playoffs, but that's 2nd in the playoffs, so a bit different. I thought they were going to start quite poor in the season, and they didn't. They started amazingly well. I thought that Jim Bentley would get sacked. I don't think he has done, because AFC Fylde's job, like manager, is more used to sort of getting teams surviving instead of promoted. But he's proven me wrong. So well done, Jim Bentley. I think the squad was good apart from a goal, which I thought was going to be the problem. They just need to sign a few more players. They scored 26 goals, so I don't think that was necessarily the problem. Although I don't think they could have carried on that momentum going through. They just had to be a bit more. They had a good defence, I think, was the main thing. I think I went with Guiseley, and Guiseley actually finished 20th, didn't they? Quartet too. I thought they made some huge leaps over the last few seasons. I think they would have done better this season and got into the playoffs. But no, they've really, really sunk, like, really badly. I thought Marcus Bignut was going to become a solo manager and do better as he got the experience of Solihull out of the league. I don't know if they've actually formally split yet, but it could well happen next season. I don't see them as the greatest squad, so they could have lost the playoffs, and they don't have the greatest squad either, clearly, do they? They've conceded 22 goals in 15 games, 17, so it was not brill in defence. Fifth, I went with Blythe Spartans, and they finished bottom of the league, so that's just a no-go. I thought they were a bit unlucky last season, but no, they're just bad, aren't they? Blythe, you just need to try and prove me wrong next season, because I will predict you lower this season. This season coming up. I thought it was going to be a bit of a dark horse team, but no, it wasn't. It was just poor. They do lack the greatest squad in the division. But I thought that was going to be the reason they were doing well, because they worked together. No, you conceded 36 goals in 14 games. You can't be doing that sort of stats and expect to get anywhere. You really need to refresh your squad if you want to stay in the league next season. Fourth, I went with Boston United. They actually finished sixth. I'm not too disappointed with that, because they could well have done it, because they played less games than every single one else in the playoffs. Could well have done that. They were generally quite a bad squad, I thought, but they always seem to make the playoffs. And that's kind of proved again. Although they did score a lot of goals and had quite a fair few defence, so I think I need to reassess my opinion of Boston, don't they? I thought the defence was very good. They only conceded 10 goals in 13 games, so I think that was a decent enough stat for me to say that the defence was good. Third, I went with Farsley Celtic, and Farsley Celtic finished 11th. I think I just didn't really know much about the squad. I didn't know whether they're going to do well or do bad. They've done neither, by the looks of it. I just think their lack of talent is quite apparent now to me. Second, I've gone with Southport, who actually finished 17th. I thought that Liam Watson had been improving the squad to a degree that playoffs could be a serious aim. He had the greatest win percentage, and I think he'll have his greatest season yet, but not win the playoffs. No, they finished in a relatively obscurity of a lower mid-table of 17th. I thought they were quite good attack and defence combination. They conceded 19 goals conceded and 16 goals scored. It's not the greatest. I think it just proves a bit mediocre at times, haven't they? And I thought York City were going to win the league. It looked like they were last season, didn't they? And they've actually finished 8th this season, so I don't know what they've entirely done. I thought it was quite cruel that they missed out on points per game last season, to be fair. I thought that they were going to carry this momentum through this season and win the league for the second kind of. I believe that Steve Watson, because he did it last time, could do it again, with Harry Bunn being a great player who will win the Golden Boot and get the team up. Not really. They've scored 22 goals, so they've clearly scored a lot. They've conceded 17, which isn't the greatest, but I reckon it wouldn't have taken much for them to go and progress into the playoffs and stuff. I think they just started a bit rough, and given enough time, it could have gone up. So the National League South, the final one I was doing the predictions of. No, this is a long video, but these ones tend to be. I think they've played slightly more games in the National League South. It's a bit more established. 21st, I went with Dulwich Hamlet, and Dulwich Hamlet actually finished 12th. Then in mid-table. So nobody didn't get relegated. They clearly got enough players from their original 7 players, which I saw at the time, to be good enough to stay in the. I thought they would seem going to go down, but they clearly brought in enough players to stay just about in relatively unknown and not do much significant. I thought, you can't do well with 7 players. Well, clearly you can. Although they probably have more than 7 players at this point. 20th, I thought was going to be Ebbsfleet United, and Ebbsfleet United finished 8th. I was really bad at this league, by the way. I thought the relegation form would be quite hard for the players to get out of their mind, and I thought it would almost result in a direct drop due to only a 1 relegation spot. But no, they've got out of that mindset and actually were challenging for playoffs. So, well done. You only... you weren't the worst. I mean, you weren't the best, but I think given time, there could have been room for improvement. But yeah. 19th, I went for Maidstone United. They actually finished 11th. I thought they were going to survive by 2 points due to Hakim Hayrettin having a bad win ratio of his previous management spell. He's not done bad. He's got 11th, which I don't think he's not the greatest win percentage. He's only won 5 games, drawn 4 and lost 4. So, and it was also a massively reduced squad, but that hasn't also seemed to affect them also. So, yeah. 18th, I went with Chippenham Town. They actually finished 16th, so there was only 3 points in that one. I think I can claim that as a relatively good prediction. I mean, Mike Cook had an absolutely awful record with clubs. He got sacked after 8 months at Gloucester City, and this can only really end up badly. But I think they had a good enough squad to stay up the last day. Well, no, they did a bit better than I predicted. They still lost quite a fair few games. They conceded 22 goals in 14 games, so they have a quite poor defence. I think I was right about Mike Cook not being great. I just don't think he's the right manager for Chippenham. 17th, I went with Eastbourne. Now, Eastbourne actually finished 3rd. I just thought the squad didn't have a good goalkeeper and not the best defence either, with the only good one being Ian Gale. Was I proved wrong? Not really. They conceded 26 goals. So they did concede quite a lot of goals. It's just they had a very good, very, very good attacking, 36 goals scored. I think that was the reason they did so well. I just didn't think they were going to score that many goals. 16th, I went with Hampton and Richmond Borough, who actually finished 6th. I thought the squad was very poor for this season, with only 8 players in a contract. I thought they were going to end about mid-table, but no, they didn't. They scored 24 goals, about average, I think, just slightly better than average. Conceded not many though. Their defence was very good. So I underestimated your Hampton, Richmond. I'm really sorry about that. 15th, I thought was Dartford, and Dartford actually finished 2nd. They do have a strong defence, which I thought was going to prevent them falling into relegation and scrap. They do have a strong defence. They only conceded 17 goals in 19 games, and they did score a decent amount as well, 26 goals. But I just think they were going to struggle under the new manager. But I think he had a bit of a beginner's luck last season, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we've actually seen the better side of him now, that he actually can get them towards the playoffs as well. 14th, Hungerford Town. No, Hungerford Town finished 7th. That's not a good prediction. They finished in the playoffs, or would be playoffs. I thought they had quite a poor squad, and I thought it would be a bit of a kick off the backside that they got mid-table. They were last, all the previous season, to be fair, which result in poor football with many 0-0s and 1-0s. I thought they would make a mid-table team due to the attitude of the squad. But no, they did even that. I thought mid-table would be quite a good call. No, they've actually managed to finish in the playoffs of positions. So, congratulations to anyone who actually predicted Hungerford to finish that high up, because I certainly didn't. 13th I went with Oxford City, because they always seem to be in the mid-table, don't they? Oxford City actually finished in 4th, so they finished in the playoffs in the end. I always see them as a bit of a mid-table team. And I thought that was going to continue this season. It could have well done, to be fair. But they had a very good run of form when the season finished. But I think the youth has actually done very well for them. The defenders are good, as are their strikers as well. I named them in the game, and they've only conceded 17 goals in 17 games, and they scored 35 goals. The strikers, I was correct, are very good. Elliot Benyon and Jenai Gordon, clearly very good. 12th, I went with Welling, and they were actually finishing one relegation spot there was. So, not the greatest prediction there. I thought that they had a general all-round good squad. I just thought that they would be conceding too many goals, and conceding 30 goals, I think, is kind of proven my theory there. That's the third worst defensive record in the league, which is not great, but I still don't think the Welling squad all around is that bad. 11th, I haven't on Waterlooville, and I actually finished 9th on 1 point. So, no, I'm going to take that. I think that was quite good. And quite good squad depth, but they do lack firepower, didn't they, coming into it? They scored 25 goals in 14 games. No, I think that's actually an all right stat. They conceded too many goals, though, for my problem. I think they conceded 21 in 14 games. I think because apparently Joe Iakiofano being only good, and he's only 21, but this will not stop them from trying to get to the playoffs, and I think that didn't. It was clear that they were trying to get to the playoffs, but that run of 4 losses at the end of the season, I think that really hampered them. 10th, I went with Concord Rangers, and they actually finished 17th, so that wasn't the best of. I thought that the set of strikers and defenders weren't that bad. I think the defence, I will stand by being quite bad, and so their strikers probably were quite bad as well. I think I'm not going to try and disagree with that next time. I thought they were going to end up in mid-table. I think you could probably argue that 17th is lower mid-table, maybe relegation swapping. But they definitely weren't for playoffs, were they? 9th, I went with Bath City, and Bath City, compared to normal, they finished 18th. They normally challenge for the playoffs, so I don't know what. Can Bath City fans please tell me what has happened this season? Because they've done well over the last 2 seasons I've seen, and I thought they were going to continue to push for playoffs and bring through youth as well and finish only 2 points away and have key individuals to help progress the club. But no, they have done very, very poor, conceding 23 goals in 13 games and only scoring 16. Like, the scoring's not that bad, but the conceding, that is a problem. 8th, I went with Braintree, and actually finished 19th. They have a big problem with defence, conceding 34 goals. That's not good. So you've only just managed to avoid relegation again, really, haven't you? Compared to what I thought last time. Now, I think they do know the league. I thought they were going to push on a bit from that. They did do a bit better. Daniel Matsuzaka, I've clearly overrated you, haven't I? Because you've played for Japan's under-19s doesn't mean you're the greatest, does it? I don't think the whole squad wanted to be relegated, so they didn't. That was just the real thing. 7th, I went with Tonbridge Angels, and Tonbridge Angels are interesting. We finished 14th. I thought I was quite generous. They do quite often make a serious push for playoffs. And I thought we were going to make it just on the final day. Jason Williams is, I still stand by, quite a good striker, but he did score 16 goals in 14 games. But I think the defence of conceding 23, was quite the issue. I think that's plain to see. They do need to score a few more goals, but I think defence mainly what they need to be focusing on if they want to get back to their playoff ambitions. Sixth one went with St Albans, and they finished fifth. So that's 3 points off. That's not too bad in the end. Ian Allison, he's quite an experienced manager, isn't he? He reached the playoffs twice while at Boreham Wood, and he's reached the playoffs positions anyhow with St Albans. I think the progress was just to go straight for playoffs. I didn't think they would win them, as they didn't have good enough players in all the positions. But they did very well. They didn't concede many goals at all. They were very good in defence, and they also were quite good in attacking as well. So very well done, St Albans. I think you should be quite proud of that. Fifth one went with Chelmsford City. No, they're 13th. So a bit more mid-table. I thought that Robin E. Simpson was a bit of an unknown, and I didn't think that would stop them from challenging from, like last season they did challenge, didn't they? But no, they're mid-table now. I thought we were going to make mid-table, but we'll lose them. But did they have a gracious defence? I did say they had a good defence. They conceded 25 goals in 16 games. Don't think that's the greatest defence, is it? Hawthorn and Hemel Hempstead, they finished 10th. Again, I've said they had quite a good defence. Ended up conceding 38 goals and scoring 28 goals. So the attack's clearly better. Just trying to think for next season what I need to think of. I thought they were going to score enough goals, but no, they conceded too many. Do they have a positive goal difference? No. So that's something I got wrong. I do think they should seriously be in the playoffs most seasons, but they haven't, have they? Third went with Slough Town, and Slough were 20th, so I'm quite disappointed in you, Slough, because you're always there or near enough to the playoffs, and you're not here this season. What has happened? I really want to know. Any Rebels fans, let me know, because you play quite exciting football, don't you? An expansive one. I thought you were going to win the playoffs and get promoted, not be blimmin' down there in the relegation scrap. Second, I went with Billericay Town, who were 15th. So they didn't reach the playoffs, did they? They had the worst defence in the league, so I think that was the biggest problem, Thought Jamie O'Hara was a good player. And he clearly isn't the greatest manager, though, was he? Thought he was going to get you very well up the table to a second place finish. Thought he had an overall good squad as well, so you should really be pushing for promotion, though. I think all Billericay fans know that. Just thought he was you would fail that due to inexperience, but it's clearly worse than that. And finally, but not least, I've gone first Dorking Wanderers. Finally, we can release this thing again. The Dorking Wanderers did actually get first. I think it could have even carried on when the season actually gone and won the league. I'm that optimistic for you. You impressed me a lot last season. I mean, you've impressed me even more this season. You made the playoffs last season. You got automatic this season. I thought the momentum would continue by winning the league with good teamwork with players like Dan Gallagher, Luke Moore, and Jason Pryor. So they will do great in this league by taking the title by storm. Was it correct? Yes. Thank you guys for watching. I'm not going to be making a video for quite a while now, so you can sit and watch the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes this thing is ending up to be. And the next one will be the history of Millwall, not this Thursday, but the next Thursday. So goodbye for now.